The moment the city woke with a hiss of glass and rain, I knew danger had learned to wear a smile, and I could spot it by the way the door to my office sighed closed and opened again like a mouth testing a rumor. I am Helena Montez, 35, a senior bank executive whose title sits on my shoulder like a badge and a plan, because I did not rise to the top by luck, but by quiet storms I kept in a raincoat pocket for when the weather turned ugly. I have a hidden ambition, a map folded into the lining of my day every day, a blueprint of power that does not shout, but waits for the perfect moment to take a breath. And the personal relationship that frames this episode is a memory I carry like a cold coin in my pocket. The betrayal of a man I trusted and the friend who stood by me as if she could see the future in the way I counted numbers, but who chose a shortcut that could cost us everything. The city around me hums with the clatter of ambition and the soft ache of the things I have learned to bury, and in this moment I am a conductor guiding a symphony no one else sees, a plan that begins with a question and ends with a verdict. Years ago, when I was still learning how to breathe under the weight of other people's expectations, I believed loyalty was a line drawn in light. It turns out loyalty is a ledger, and every friend who becomes a cosigner on your heart is a potential debtor with a claim you cannot ignore forever. That is how the knife came. A late-night confession, a whispered pact, a kiss traded in a room where the air smelled of coffee and fear. He was the kind of man who could talk his way into your confidence and then slip away with it when you looked away to count the next number. And she was the kind we thought we were building something together, a future that looked like a skyline you could walk into, a promise that if we just worked hard enough, we would own a piece of the city and a piece of the truth. But the night the trust cracked, I learned that a single betrayal can fracture the air you breathe. And the echo of that moment still chases me through every glass column and every conference room where I hear my own name bounce off the walls like a coin you flip to decide your fate. Now I stand at the edge of a new design for control, and the personal event that frames this episode pushes me toward a choice I never expected to make in a room where numbers are prayers and prayers are counted in quarters and dimes. The man who crossed the line with my closest confidant is no longer outside my reach. He crawled into a place I could not have planned for him, a position that forces him to answer to me in a way that makes the old wound sting again. And the irony is not lost on me. He is under my command, working for me, not as a friend, but as a test case. A living reminder of what happens when trust is broken and the price is paid with someone else's future. He is now one of my subordinates, a figure in a circle I control, and the first instinct that courts me is to push him away, to pretend he is a ghost in the machine, to let the memory of the betrayal stay in the private vault where I keep the things I do not want to share with the world. But I have learned that revenge does not always roar. Sometimes it speaks in a whisper that sounds like discipline. A quiet recalculation of risk and reward until the day I decide to act. I am wearing a suit that knows more about restraint than I do, and I carry a coffee that tastes like a plan I have rehearsed 1,000 times but never dared to enact until now. We're in the heart of the bank, where the air is thick with the scent of coffee and cheap elegance, where the floor glitters with the reflections of towers I could own with the right move. And I speak to him as if we are colleagues who share a future built on airtight contracts and the memory of a friendship that has long since vanished into the noise of a market that never sleeps. He pretends to be grateful, but I see the eagerness in his eyes, the way he wants to prove he is not the same man who vanished into the night with a trusted secret. I let him talk. I let him present his plan to restore his name in a place that once held his trust. And I listen with the patience you only learn after you have watched 100 deals collapse under the weight of fear. The moment comes when the room shifts and the clock seems to lean in, when I reveal the evidence I have gathered, not to destroy him, but to expose the mechanism that allowed him to betray me in the first place. The way a single lapse in judgment can become a system of advantage for people who do not deserve it. The revelation is not loud, not a riot, but a carefully staged unveiling in which I show the board what this past betrayal meant in a language they all understand: risk, exposure, and the stain that makes a brand vulnerable when a truth comes creeping through the walls. I lay out the chain of events with the calm cadence of a person who has counted every heartbeat and every misstep and every moment where I could have chosen differently but did not. He tries to pivot, to claim that his actions were a misreading of loyalty, that his intention was to protect a friend who had become a liability. But I hold up the ledger the way a surgeon holds up a scalpel, and I watch the defense crumble under the weight of the numbers. The room grows smaller as the truth expands, and I am careful with the way I speak, because vengeance does not need to roar to be felt. It can radiate from a dozen quiet decisions made in the days leading up to this moment, each one a stroke of a brush that paints the outline of a new future while erasing an old life. In the hours that follow, the consequences arrive like a train you hear long before you see it, and I let them come. He is moved to the edge of the department, a place that has neither warmth nor respect. And the memory of what he did to me becomes a cautionary tale told in boardrooms where the future of the bank is debated in the glow of monitors and the clack of keys. Yet in the cold way this justice is served, there is a strange mercy, for I do not destroy him entirely. I give him a path that might still lead somewhere if he chooses to walk it correctly. A small chance to redeem what is left of his reputation by showing he can learn from the very wound he inflicted. But the truth travels fast in a place like this, and the whispers do not stay soft. They crystallize into a verdict from the people who measure power in profits and reputation. And the verdict is that the old memory belongs to me, that I am the one who turned a betrayal into a blueprint for discipline, and that the future belongs to the woman who can shoulder both the weight of the past and the burden of a new order without blinking. As the days pass, the dawns come with a sharper edge, and I see the way the city's rhythm changes when a single hand on the controls shifts just a fraction. My hidden ambition seems to grow teeth, feeding on the fear and respect that come with control, and I do not apologize for it, because the world I live in is not made to cater to the soft and sentimental. I built my life on calculations, on the ability to see through the noise and find the truth that others refuse to acknowledge, and I choose to use the very weapon that betrayed me to secure a future that is clean of the kind of pain I have endured. The personal cost remains, of course, friendships fractured, trust tested, the quiet ache of a loneliness that grows as the corners of my mouth tighten in a smile I do not feel, but pretend to wear for the sake of the job. Yet I keep moving, because the tragedy of a life lived in fear of pain is far worse than the sting of a single cold victory. And I have learned not to mistake rescue for mercy or mercy for weakness. I have learned that justice served cold can melt some ice, can forge a new climate where the air is thinner and the view farther. And it is in that thin air that I find the breath I need to keep going, to protect the people who depend on me, to ensure that a betrayal will not define me, but rather sharpen the edge of the person I am becoming in the days after the storm, when the last light of the corporate city slips behind the horizon and the river of traffic glides like a silver serpent beneath the windows. I stand again in my office and look out as if I am counting not just the towers, but the lessons that have built me. I think of the laugh we shared that now sounds hollow, of the kiss that vanished into the night, of the way fear once felt like a flame licking the inside of my chest. And I understand that this is the price of power, that there is a line between justice and cruelty, and I have chosen to walk just at the edge of it, not to crush him completely, but to ensure he can never return to the same position again. Not to break his life, but to break the power he thought he had over mine. I have learned to hold the memory steady and to move forward, to let the past teach me how to become a stronger present, to let the future unfold in a way that I can still control, to let the city with its glittering towers and stormy seas of money echo with the sound of a victory earned with discipline and restraint rather than loud rage. I am Helena Montez. I am 35. I am the person who took a chosen moment of betrayal and turned it into the architecture of a new, colder justice. And I will keep building, one decision at a time, until the skyline itself answers to the name I carry and the ambition I guard like a quiet flame.